In the private dining room of Ellsworth, Boston's elite restaurant, the crystal glasses chimed as Edward Kingston, lead investor at Meridian Capital, eagerly raised his glass. After months of intense negotiations, Madison Sinclair, had finally achieved an $8 million investment to expand my family's specialty food business nationwide. The champagne flowed freely, and my parents appeared happier than they had in years, as did the beaming investors. 8 years ago, I had left a promising career in finance to rescue my parents' struggling gourmet store from the brink of 3-month bankruptcy. Vivien, my former business school professor who introduced me to the investors, remarked, "I remember when your parents' store was a simple storefront in Cambridge, and now it's grown to national distribution with an online subscription and impressive manufacturing partnerships." Amazing transformation, Madison. As the room filled with nods of approval, I felt proud. Transforming Sinclair Fine Foods hadn't been easy. I restructured operations, rebranded our product line, secured strategic partnerships, and established an e-commerce platform from scratch. Our specialty jams and artisanal condiments now shipped to 48 states, turning a beloved local shop into a burgeoning national brand. None of this would have happened without Madison's foresight, my father praised, raising his glass. When Helen and I started this business 25 years ago, we never imagined it would evolve to this extent, he continued, while my mother smiled, though I detected a shadow of doubt. As discussions of the expansion plan I meticulously prepared ensued, my mother's hand found mine under the table. "Madison, dear," she whispered, her perfume enveloping me, "this is all thrilling, but when William returns from his program next month, he'll be better suited as the CEO of the family business, despite all your groundwork." My brother William, the celebrated son, had been wandering Europe with an MBA, seldom checking on the business I'd poured everything into. Holding my smile, I returned my mother's reassuring touch, although I felt a chill in my core. 8 years of 18-hour days, sacrificed vacations, and deferred personal life, yet I remained the placeholder for William's birthright. "Everything all right?" Kingston queried, noticing our exchange. "Absolutely perfect," I smiled, raising my glass higher, yet internally gears were already in motion for Monday. 8 years prior, I had been a rising star at Morgan Stanley when my father delivered news that changed my trajectory. The family business was on the brink. The recession had hit their luxury food items hard after an overextended second location, nearing permanent closure. I recalled the shock of my peers at my resignation. Leaving finance to sell fancy jam, my boss questioned in disbelief. Even William, then completing his undergrad, advised against it. "It's a sinking ship, Maddie," he declared, urging me to let it go. Yet, I couldn't abandon Sinclair Fine Foods. It was my parents' legacy. I grew up witnessing how they crafted recipes, sourced ingredients, and personally knew every customer. My departure from finance wasn't merely about saving a business, but safeguarding a family dream. The initial 2 years were grueling, working the front counter by day, scrutinizing spreadsheets by night, selling our second location, renegotiating supplier contracts, and modernizing accounting systems. I took a second mortgage on my condo to kickstart an e-commerce platform, enduring months on a cot in the stockroom when funds ran short. William graduated and entered a consulting firm, offering advice from afar, focused on his career. Despite his absence, my parents emphasized his valuable experience that would benefit Sinclair Fine Foods someday. In the meantime, I transformed the business. A viral post by a food blogger spotlighted our handcrafted preserves, leading to a subscription service boasting 20,000 monthly subscribers. Last year, partnerships with 3 national gourmet grocery chains swelled our revenue by 340%. Yet, my contributions were met with ambivalence from my parents. They were grateful, certainly, but a sense of "this is temporary" lingered. The unspoken assumption remained that William, as the firstborn and only son, would take over, unchanged by my success. Kingston's voice interrupted my thoughts, pulling me back to the present with investors looking at me expectantly. Feeling a sense of urgency, I regained my composure and asked Kingston to repeat his question. He had inquired about my vision for the company's leadership moving forward. Kingston acknowledged that my operational plan was outstanding but wanted to confirm that our management perspectives were aligned. My mother sat tensely beside me, as this was the moment I had both feared and longed for over the years. I responded cautiously, aware of my mother's attentive gaze, explaining that the leadership structure would stay as it is. I would continue as CEO, while my parents would remain as brand ambassadors and advisors, preserving our genuine family narrative. Kingston took notes and asked about my brother, as Helen had mentioned him. Before I could answer, my mother interjected, proudly noting that William had completed his executive MBA at Wharton and would join the leadership team the following month, offering valuable consulting experience. I maintained a neutral expression, although it stung, knowing William had barely spent any time at the shop in the past 8 years. Yet my mother spoke as if he had always been pivotal to our success. Sensing the tension, Kingston looked between my mother and me, probing further about William's role. I quickly responded that we hadn't finalized his position, prioritizing the investment round first. My mother continued, extolling William as having the best business acumen in the family. She praised my creativity, but emphasized William's financial understanding crucial for our expansion. It almost made me choke on my drink. Despite having been a financial analyst and restructuring our operations to secure an $8 million investment, I was not seen as the business expert that my mother credited William to be. Kingston exchanged a glance with another key investor, Diane Thomas, and I could perceive a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a reassessment of the deal. He addressed my mother, clarifying that their investment was largely based on my track record and vision, and any major leadership changes would require discussion before finalizing the agreement. My mother appeared astonished, as if it hadn't occurred to her that the investors were backing me instead of the family name. My father, sensing the discomfort, confirmed, "We're all on the same page. Madison has built something extraordinary, and we're just proud parents eager to have both our children involved. Nothing is set in stone." The conversation then turned to safer topics, but the damage was evident. As dinner concluded, I noticed Kingston's team conversing seriously. When we parted ways, Kingston's handshake was firmer than usual, hinting, "We should talk first thing Monday." "Just you?" I nodded, understanding the investors had grasped my mother's implications and their potential effect on the $8 million. In the town car, as my parents animatedly discussed William's return, seemingly oblivious to the evening's events, I stared out at the city lights, devising a plan for Monday, which promised to be intriguing, to say the least. Sleep eluded me that night, and by 6 a.m. Saturday, I found myself at my desk in the quiet Sinclair Fine Foods headquarters, surrounded by spreadsheets, market analyses, and 8 years of documentation. The cleaning staff looked surprised yet unsurprised. They had grown used to my odd hours. "Miss Sinclair, everything okay?" asked Jorge, our maintenance head, present since my tenure began. "Just prepping for a crucial meeting," I replied, eyes still on my laptop. "Another one after last night's fancy dinner? You work too hard, you know." I couldn't help but smile at his concern. "This one's critical, maybe the most important I'll ever have." After Jorge left, I made a significant call I had long considered but hesitated out of familial loyalty. At 6:30 a.m., Vivien, my former professor and mentor, answered groggily, "It's Saturday morning." Without pleasantries, I stated, "I need your advice and possibly your help." 45 minutes later, Vivien arrived with coffee and a determined look. After I explained everything, she assessed me thoughtfully. "You've anticipated this moment for years. What is it you truly want, Madison?" Her question lingered, prompting deep reflection. What did I desire? Recognition for my family? The CEO title I was already executing? Or something more? "I want what I have rightfully earned," I declared finally, "and I'm done pretending my family values my contributions." Vivien nodded in agreement. "Then let's make some calls." By noon, I had reached out to Kingston, arranging an urgent Sunday morning meeting with the investment team. I also contacted my unwavering team members, Daphne from marketing, Jason from operations, and Tamara. I summoned key individuals from product development for an emergency strategy meeting. These were the team members who had been by my side since the early days of the company, helping to build it with me, while William was off on his journey of self-discovery before earning his MBA. Over the weekend, I missed 2 calls from my parents who wanted to talk about some thrilling ideas William had pitched for the business. I allowed the calls to go to voicemail. My focus was not on William or my parents this weekend. Securing my future, with or without Sinclair Fine Foods, was my priority. Sunday morning brought a sense of dread, as I had stayed up until 3 a.m. working on financial forecasts. Kingston and his team arrived precisely at 9, carrying expressions of both worry and wonder. As everyone settled in the conference room, Kingston began, "I've spent 20 years in this industry, and I've learned to trust my instincts." Something on that night's dinner troubled me. I nodded in agreement, distributing folders to everyone. Page 1 shows the current organizational structure of Sinclair Fine Foods. Page 2 reveals what I believe it could become once my parents have their way post-investment. The second diagram indicated William as CEO, relegating me to an indefinite creative director role, devoid of meaningful power. Kingston expressed disapproval. "This deviates from what we agreed on during negotiations." Indeed, I concurred, but it's been an unstated family plan since I joined. No matter my accomplishments, William is assumed to be the heir. Diane Thomas turned a page, intrigued. "What's on page 3? She asked. Taking a breath, I disclosed, "That's my counterproposal." Silence filled the room as the investors examined the new company structure, excluding my parents and the Sinclair name from it entirely. "This is unforeseen," Kingston admitted. "You're suggesting we direct our investment toward a new venture under your leadership?" "Yes." I maintained eye contact. "Let me demonstrate why this benefits everyone's financial interests." Overnight, I had assembled a presentation showcasing the market validation already present. Our customer base is connected to the quality of our products and the brand story, elements that I have crafted, not the Sinclair name, I detailed. As I presented growth metrics and customer surveys, I emphasized that innovation, sustainability, and community connection, core brand values, were my initiatives, not remnants from my parents' original business. "What about the manufacturing partnerships?" inquired Thomas. "Wouldn't you be starting anew?" I reassured her. Our 3 main manufacturing partners' contracts include renewal provisions upcoming next quarter. These relationships are ones I've maintained personally. They know I'm steering this business. As the meeting went on, I presented a full-fledged business plan for a separate company that would utilize everything built at Sinclair Fine Foods, minus the familial entanglements. "Impressive work for a weekend," Kingston commented, "but it seems like you've pondered this longer." I admitted, it's been my contingency for around 3 years, observing how my parents favored William compared to me. I anticipated this scenario. After a lengthy discussion, Kingston said, "We placed our investment in you, Madison, not the company alone. While the Sinclair brand has its merits, you're the architect who reinvented it." He exchanged glances with the team. "We must perform due diligence on this new direction, though I'm leaning toward your proposal with some amendments to safeguard everyone." As relief washed over me, I thanked him, admitting I was prepared to leave without anything if it came to that. "That would benefit no one," Kingston replied, "least of all us. However, there's one condition. Face your parents with the truth before anything is finalized. Give them a chance to realize their potential loss." Although dreading the confrontation, I knew Kingston was right. I committed to speaking with them that night. Once the investors departed, I gathered with my core team, those who helped sculpt the company. I hadn't revealed my contingency to them, fearing it might seem disloyal to the family business. "I wondered if you had an exit plan," Daphne expressed post-explanation. "With the way your parents mention William, it seemed eventual." Jason concurred. "We've collaborated with you for years, Madison, not merely the Sinclair label." Surprised by their consistent support, I inquired, "Would you all be with me in this?" "In a heartbeat," Tamara answered without hesitation. "We actually anticipated this, especially with William completing his MBA." The realization that my team foresaw this and were ready to back me gave me the confidence I needed. They were more than just staff. They were allies who recognized my worth, even if my family didn't. That evening, I drove to my parents. For years, the house had a peculiar sense of tranquility. I'd battled tirelessly for acknowledgement, attempting to validate my worth through unwavering dedication and substantial results, yet I came to realize that no degree of success would ever alter their perception. William remained the predetermined successor in their eyes, regardless of his minimal input compared to my proven performance. As I arrived at their driveway, my phone buzzed. William was calling from the airport. "Hey, Maddie," he chimed with cheerfulness. "Just landed. Mom mentioned something about a big investment. Seems like my return is perfectly timed." I chuckled to myself, replying, "Yes, the timing is indeed spot on. See you at the office tomorrow." The Sunday evening conversation with my parents proceeded as I had anticipated. My mother was aghast at the thought of me forsaking the family legacy. Ever the mediator, my father suggested a potential compromise, co-leading the company with William. I reminded them, "I've been managing this company solo for 8 years. Why would I need a co-leader now, just as we're on the brink of expansion?" "William offers fresh insights," my mother argued, "and he has always possessed the sharpest business acumen in the family." "Based on which credentials?" I questioned, straining to keep my voice steady. "His consulting role he abandoned after 2 years? The MBA I funded while reinvesting my paycheck to save our company." My father winced. "Madison, please see that this was always the vision, William being the firstborn." "I'm 37, I interjected. "I've boosted company revenue by 3,000% since taking charge. Secured an $8 million investment, all thanks to my vision and execution. Yet none of it counts since William is the firstborn, your son, not a daughter." The silence that ensued told me everything I needed to know. They had no defense save for tradition and preference. "The investors are backing me, not the family name," I finally stated. "You have until tomorrow morning to decide whether to recognize that reality or lose everything I've built." I left them in stunned silence, a family photo from my childhood peering down at us over the fireplace, William front and center, me slightly to the side. I realized it had always been that way, although I hadn't wanted to accept it. Monday morning glowed bright and clear. I had scheduled the investors to meet me at the office at 9 a.m., knowing full well that my parents typically arrived at 8:30 and William had texted he'd be in for his debut day at 8:45. I arrived at 7:30, granting myself time to center my thoughts and brace for what lay ahead. Unexpectedly, I found Daphne, Jason, and Tamara there, along with about a dozen key employees. "What are you all doing here so early?" I asked, surprised. Daphne smiled. "We wanted you to know you're not alone in this. Whatever unfolds today, we stand with you." The gesture nearly unraveled my composure, and deeply touched, I managed a grateful nod before retreating to my office to revisit my notes one last time. Precisely at 8:30, my parents arrived, looking tense yet determined, my mother dressed formally perhaps for an important presentation. My father appeared weary, still burdened by the argument from the night before. At 8:42, William arrived, radiating the casual confidence of someone who has never had to struggle for recognition, clad in a luxury suit. He shook hands with employees he barely recognized, proclaiming his excitement to steer the family business. I observed from my glass-walled office as he maneuvered the room, already playing the CEO part without earning any of it. My mother was aglow with pride, pointing out various operations to him as if he were an esteemed guest, rather than someone who should have been in the trenches with us these past 8 years. The clock struck 9, and the elevator opened to reveal Kingston with his investment team and 2 individuals I recognized as partners from Meridian Capital's legal team. A palpable shift occurred in the office atmosphere, with employees sensing the significance of the current moment. My mother hurried over, extending her hand. "Mr. Kingston, we're thrilled to have you here. I'd like to introduce you to my son, William. He's just come back." However, Kingston politely interrupted. "Actually, Mrs. Sinclair, we're here to see Madison, though it may benefit everyone to convene in the conference room." The moment of reckoning was upon us. The conference room buzzed with tension as everyone settled into their seats, my parents and William on one side, the investment team on the other, with me positioned at the head of the table. Years of unspoken family dynamics were on a collision course with business reality. Kingston opened his briefcase, placing several documents across the table. Before we proceed, I need to clarify something crucial. Meridian Capital's investment was sanctioned due to Madison's leadership and vision for this company. Our diligence emphasized her impressive track record. William shifted uneasily in his seat as Kingston continued to speak about team growth strategy and the reassessment needed since their Friday meeting. We've observed discrepancies in leadership expectations for our company's future, he noted, glancing at my father's fixed smile. Clearing his throat, my father said, "We've always seen Sinclair Fine Foods as a family business where both our children contribute their unique skills." Diane Thomas interjected with respect, "Our investment is based on leadership continuity. Madison has taken this company from near bankruptcy to a national contender, and changing leadership now would alter our agreement significantly." Leaning forward, William asserted with misplaced confidence, "My executive MBA and consulting experience make me well-suited to—" Kingston interrupted. "Qualified to do what?" "Replace the person who saved this company, increased its valuation by 3,000%, and secured this investment." A tense silence filled the room as my mother's pallor deepened, her eyes darting between William and Kingston. Kingston then pushed a folder towards my parents, announcing, "We have 2 proposals for you to carefully consider." My parents, with tremulous hands, opened the folder to find 2 legal documents. The first maintained the initial investment terms while keeping me as CEO for the next 5 years and relegating William to a non-executive position. The second proposed a $10 million investment for a new venture led by me, unconnected to the Sinclair family. "What is this?" my father inquired, his voice barely audible. "Insurance," I replied, "if you still don't see what's truly valuable in this company." William grabbed the second document, his face reddening. "You're threatening to start a rival business against your own family?" "I'm safeguarding the value I've developed," I corrected him. "Value you had no hand in creating, William. Where were you when I was sleeping on a cot in the stockroom to manage payroll, or personally delivering orders because we couldn't afford shipping, or redesigning our product line while manning the register?" At this point, a stricken expression crossed my mother's face. "Madison, you can't seriously intend to forsake your family legacy." Before I could respond, Daphne entered with Jason, Tamara, and 15 other long-standing employees. "Pardon the interruption," Daphne declared confidently, "but we felt it necessary to express this. If Madison chooses to start anew, we're with her, all of us." Whispers filled the room. My parents' eyes widened in disbelief at the loyal employees, the true heart of the company. Softly, I said, "The choice is yours. Acknowledge who built this company or watch me leave with its true value." For nearly 10 minutes, the only sound was paper rustling as my parents and William reviewed the documents. Kingston and his team were patient, while the employees who supported me remained at the room's perimeter, a symbolic image of the company's authentic asset. Eventually, my father exhaled heavily, pushing the first document forward. "We'll sign this one," he murmured, its weight of defeat evident. Madison would remain CEO, and although my mother looked, her lips pressed tightly together, she agreed with a nod. William appeared shattered as his future disintegrated. "A prudent decision," Kingston remarked, signaling his legal team to finalize the paperwork. 2 hours later, it was official. The investment would proceed, protecting my role, while William would join as Vice President of Business Development, with defined limitations and a reporting hierarchy positioning him beneath me. My parents would transition to brand ambassadors, relinquishing daily operations. That was 6 months ago, and Sinclair Fine Foods is flourishing today. Our national growth is ahead of schedule, and new products have exceeded sales forecasts by 40%. To outsiders, we're the epitome of a successful family business, but the reality is complex. I maintain a strictly professional relationship with my parents and William. Our exchanges are cordial, but strictly business-related. I attend obligatory family dinners during holidays, but no longer seek their recognition. Some wounds remain unhealed, becoming integral to one's identity. The betrayal imparted a vital lesson. My worth is independent of family acknowledgement. My true family is the team that stood by me, ready to forsake security for loyalty and justice. While my business cards bear the Sinclair name, my legacy is uniquely mine.